sports before we lead into your sports huddle this weekend on Sundays. Pete
Yep.
does the sports huddle, folks, from 10 a.m. Central Time until noon Central Time on WCCO up in Minneapolis.
Yep.
So I know you're going to be doing that from California this week, Pete.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the sports that you're watching right now.
Right. Well, the California sports, they're way out of the picture on this one, John. I mean, you want to talk about something. Here's the problem that the NBA has right now. They got nothing going west, right? I mean, when you take a look at who the teams are that are left, now this doesn't play out really well. That's why some of the ratings aren't what people would expect. It's a great year. I mean, game one, you've got an unbelievable matchup with Boston and Indiana, right? I mean, it went down. They went to the first game. It went to overtime, and it was in a very, very exciting game. Problem is, Indiana and Boston, Midwest, and you got the East Coast, right? Now, all of a sudden, fast forward to last night, my Minnesota Timberwolves kind of laid an egg. I mean, it was a close game, but, John, we could not shoot. The Timberwolves just had no ability to be able to drop the ball into the hoop. It really was a struggle for them. The game was very close nonetheless, but we lost the game. And let's think about this. Minnesota, Dallas. Now, think about the entire West Coast at this point in time. Do the folks out there in Washington and Oregon and California, Utah, and Nevada, and everywhere else, do they really care as much as they normally would? You don't have Phoenix, you don't have LA, you don't have Sacramento, you don't have a lot of things. That's a little bit of a problem. That's why I think we're seeing right now that the numbers don't look that great. But that being said, I think as we get a little bit closer to the championship games, whoever it is, if it's Minnesota and Boston, I think it actually will start to elevate back up again because people are hearing more about the Minnesota Timberwolves. They already know about the Dallas Mavericks. They've got some great players. By the way, John, Kyrie and Luka last night combined, 63 points. Meanwhile, Cat and Ant, 35 points. That's a problem. That can't happen. And I think they can fix that. But I think also when people start getting into this a little bit more as we get through these championship games and get to the ultimate championship games, I think we'll start to see some of the folks actually come back to it and watch the NBA absolute final championships. John, what do you think? Can they get the ratings back up just a little bit because of that?
Well, your buddy Charles Barkley and your buddy Shaq, two of Pete's friends, in particular Shaq, they have made it so interesting, and they've been talking up Luka, they've been talking up Kyrie, and of course, talking up Ant. And Anthony has been fantastic. But like you said, Pete, last night, off night shooting. Karl Anthony Towns also off night shooting. If you've got the big man and Anthony Edwards both not really performing at the highest level, that happens. We all know it. But it's potentially 7-game series. It's the best of 7, whoever gets to 4. So that's what we got to hope in your case, Pete, with the Timberwolves, that they can make a statement game still and come back and get into it. You don't want to be down 2-0 to these guys because Luka and Kyrie are going to shoot the lights out. They do it almost every night, Pete. But then again, usually so does Big Cat, Karl Anthony Towns, and so does Anthony Edwards. So 105, 108 doesn't sound like they got blown out to me, Pete. Sounds like if they hit a couple other shots during the game, maybe they win it. So I'm not, I wouldn't be tearing up my lottery tickets just yet.
Nope, I'm with you. And it's pretty exciting, and we're still waiting on Kevin Garnett. Everybody's still waiting on Kevin Garnett, man, because, John, he hasn't been here since they were there 20 years ago. He's got an issue with the franchise, so we'll give him that. All right, next up, Major League Baseball. And I'm going to something we've talked about before, but I just wanted to point it out because I find it so interesting as we get a little bit deeper into the baseball season, John. How about this? Take a look at the payrolls, right? You've got the New York Yankees. Now, they're the top of the American League East. They got a great winning percentage. Matter of fact, they're the second best winning percentage right now in Major League Baseball. They're second only to Philadelphia, who also has a payroll of $245 million. The Yankees are $305 million. But here's what's kind of interesting for me. Cleveland, $101 million. Now, I just got done saying the Yankees have $305 million. Cleveland is the second best, or third best rather, with 660 as their winning percentage right now. American League Central. Also, the Kansas City Royals. They're in the same Central, John, 116 million. So it just goes to show you that yes, money can buy a lot. The Yankees look great. The Dodgers look great. Philly looks great. But not too far back at about a third of the price of the others, you've got Cleveland, you've got Kansas City. And if Minnesota starts to kind of perk up a little bit and get back in there as well, John, I don't know. I look at this and just wonder all the time, how is it that happens in baseball? Is it bad contracts, or are these guys just saying, you know what, it's worthwhile to get these fannies into those seats at home for that extra money? Because we know there's a lot of money in TV, but holy smokes, these guys have payrolls that are outrageous, aren't they?
Yeah. And folks, this is actually really simple. Pete knows it. I know it. We've mentioned it all during last season of Major League Baseball. But I've got a friend. He owns a significant piece of the Cincinnati Reds. Great guy, Jack. I won't say your last name, Jack, but Jack owns a significant piece. And he's one of the premier owners of that team. They have several, because in baseball in particular, Pete, it seems like, it's not just a Jerry Jones. Every once in a while you get just a Steinbrenner or just a Stevie Cohen with the Mets or whatever. But in this case, or in the Dodgers, Pete, you've got, Magic Johnson and his group that own that one. So anyway, where I'm going with this is baseball is a sport where they do not share revenue. The TV, different story, but your live gate is your live gate. So when you look at Stevie Cohen with the Mets, or any of these teams that are paying those 270, 290, $300 million payroll, why are they doing it? Just like Pete said, put butts in the seats for home games for the Dodgers with Ohtani and so forth, Ohtani. When you've got that and you're putting 52,000 people in there, you're keeping all of that. None of that goes to Cincy. None of that goes to Tampa Bay Rays. None of that goes to Florida Marlins. None of that goes to any of those small or Minnesota Twins. None of it goes to those guys. So it is tough for those teams. And this next round, Pete, of bargaining that they're going to do, they're going to have to address that, because otherwise they really won't be able to be competitive. You will see teams that can win, but do not have the big names because they can't afford them. Without that sharing of rev, you can't afford them. NFL, you don't get to keep your whole gate. They have the TV contract with the networks instead of your own network, Pete, like the Yes Network, for instance, where, how does Minnesota Twins compete when the Yankees and the Mets and so forth are on the Yes Network? The answer is they can't. They don't have the money to put those same big name players on the bench and in the field. But they can win nonetheless, but they can't compete on the salary side without that rev share, Pete.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think one of the leagues that have done a really, really good job is Major League Baseball. So I think right now my confidence level would be high that they can figure some of the things out, because if it were the NBA, they would never be able to do it. The NFL, maybe, but I'm not so sure. I mean, there's still a lot of problems out there, but I'll tell you what, Major League Baseball, they're aggressive and they make those moves when they think it's needed. And so it's something that maybe they will get this thing figured out in the not too distant future. Well, that's a lot of fun, John. It's a lot of sports, man. It's a lot of cool things going on in the world right now. Here in Minnesota, they do not stop talking about JJ McCarthy. I'm telling you, they are absolutely on cloud nine right now. It's almost like he's Caleb Williams' first pick in the draft. I mean, they will not stop talking about this kid, and he looks pretty good so far.